Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome back to round 17 of the F123 Lancia career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here for the Japanese GP. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live a couple of days ago from Singapore, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. Of course, we've been on quite a big push in the last couple of episodes to try and make sure that we have got all our parts ready for next season, and good news, we're basically already there. We've just got 2 more upgrades to go, and then we can continue focusing development ready for next campaign. The Singapore Grand Prix was a very, very good one for us. We're now up into 11th place in the championship. Charles Leclerc just 4 points ahead of Max Verstappen. Red Bull 2 points ahead of Ferrari, but you could probably argue there's a 5-way title fight going on in the Drivers' Championship at the moment. Lancia are also now up into 6th place as well in the Constructors, so we're doing pretty well at this stage of the campaign. But yeah, heading to Japan this weekend though, a really, really tough old school circuit. We've got a lot of sprint race weekends coming up after this, so I want to try and make sure we've got a lot of momentum behind us. Well, once again then, as we head into qualifying, I'm still not entirely sure as to what we've got to be aiming for. Obviously, don't quite think we'll match the same highs that we saw last weekend in Singapore. That was, yeah, arguably, I think, looking back, one of my best ever laps inside F123. AI often very, very competent around this Japanese GP circuit on a Saturday. We'll wait and see when they're going to start randomly brake checking me in Sunday afternoon's Grand Prix. But yeah, want to obviously make that a Q1. But yeah, not sure whether we'll make Q3 today or not. We are also meant to see a lot of rain come Sunday afternoon, so I've opted for a slightly higher downforce setup. Helps us out through the first sector there as we bottom out over the curbing. But yeah, hopefully it's going to give us a little bit of a helping hand on Sunday, maybe with a slight sacrifice of speed today. I'll 3/10 up on Logan Sargent as we come towards the end of my first run. I'd be quite happy if we safely make it through and into Q2 out of the final corner. Then what is the time going to be? A 28.5 there. Okay, puts us P12 between Tsunoda and Perez. Well, yeah, still currently in 12th as we head out for our second run, but only 4 tenths ahead of the drop zone. So, gonna go out for another run. There's a couple of drivers that I'm a little bit nervous are gonna beat us there. Your Perez's and your Fernando Alonso's. So, want to go for one more attacking lap just to see if we can find a little bit extra. Out of the final chicane, then it is going to be a small improvement there. Really hooked up through the final sector, up over the line. Like, yeah, that's a safety through, and we were P11 in the end. And heading out then into Q2, no major surprises in our first qualifying session. And yeah, we're going to need a magnificent lap if we want to see ourselves back into Q3. I believe Alex Albon is currently just on the cut-off at about a 28 flat. 4 tenths up on Lance Stroll. It's been a pretty good lap up to this point again. Really just trying to wring the neck out of this car, but out of the final couple of turns up towards the start-finish line. Will we make it through and into Q3? A 27.6 out of nowhere. There we go, P6. That one genuinely has taken me by surprise. Well, clearly over 1 lap then. This car is coming alive at the moment there. Lando Norris in P10 there, but we knocked out Lewis Hamilton at the end of qualifying here for the Japanese Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri fastest of anyone. But again then, I guess we've got a 1 run in Q3. I was not expecting that. Well, jumping into Q3 then, it is yet going to just be a 1-shot glory run here. Everyone else coming to the end of their laps as Sergio Perez currently on a 27.3 then. So the paces continue to ramp up here as we get towards the end of qualifying. I'm hoping Charles Leclerc and that Ferrari doesn't get in my way on this run. No, I'm going to mess it up myself. Immediately, I've gone and messed it up through Sector 1. There we go, it's P10 on the grid. Yeah, let's get into the Japanese Grand Prix.
The beloved Suzuka had a couple of unplanned years away from the calendar, but it's now back where it belongs, at the heart of the Formula One season. Welcome along to the Japanese Grand Prix. We're southwest of the city of Nagoya today at a wet and windy Suzuka circuit. 3.6 miles and 18 corners make up a lap here, with Sector 1 likely to prove especially difficult in these conditions. We should see overtaking into turns 1 and 16 today, and maybe a few Kobayashi-style dives into the hairpin as well. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, and a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Fernando Alonso, Russell, Gasly, Perez, Firestarter, Hamilton, Albon, Stroll, Magnussen, Verstappen, Tsunoda, Bottas, Joe, Hulkenberg, Sargent, Ocon, Ricciardo, and the reserve driver rounds off the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Well, it's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. Anthony Davidson, could be a wet one today. Great to have you with us. What are your thoughts?
It is a touch damp, isn't it? Well, as a driver, there are three big things to worry about when racing in these kind of conditions: standing water, tyre temperature and visibility. Judging distance to the cars around you is really tricky when you're driving through the vast amounts of spray that these wet weather Pirelli tyres kick up.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Did anyone else notice that that fact was incorrect on the load-up to this race? It said that Mercedes have won every race since the turbo hybrid era began at Suzuka. Didn't Max Verstappen literally win here last year and claim his world championship by doing so? There we go, F123 likes to lie to you, ladies and gentlemen. But we are ready then here trackside. Looks like it's going to be intermediate conditions with a potential switch to dries towards the end of the afternoon. So I think tyre saving is going to be really, really important here today. This car hasn't always been fantastic on his tyres, but we do start P9 by virtue of some penalties as well. Well, here we are then, lining up on the grid, ready for the Japanese Grand Prix. 5 red lights. And it's going to be lights out, and away we go there. A little bit slow off the start, but not as bad as Fernando Alonso, who will go absolutely nowhere on the run down towards turn 1 there. I believe that was Gasly, who got caught up behind him in towards that first corner there. So we will claim a couple of freebies, despite thinking that I might go backwards off the line. But yeah, looks to be fairly cool, calm and composed off the start of the GP. Lando Norris there, still at the front of the field, leading the way ahead of both Ferraris. Of course, Max Verstappen, he is going to be one to watch today, trying to carve his way back through the field. It is not easy to overtake around this Suzuka circuit. There aren't really many opportunities to get past other cars, but this is Max Verstappen, and he will make opportunities to get past other cars if he needs to. But yeah, I think for us, of course, we kind of qualified a little bit higher than I was expecting. So a bit like Singapore, I'm anticipating that we're gonna fall down the order over the course of the race today. But of course, that didn't quite happen in Marina Bay. So we'll wait and see what we can do here. Of course, like I said, the aim of the game today, I think, is going to have to be tyre strategy. So whether it's going to be possible to go a bit long on this first stint there and maybe get to the dry period, as Lewis Hamilton, oh, he's going for it down the inside at 130R on lap 1. Kind of half commits to it though, so we'll go side by side there through that corner on this first lap. Very, very scary stuff as Hamilton kind of squeezes me out over the curbing. We'll then park the bus on the exit of the Casio Triangle there. But yeah, no, a bit disappointed with that one to lose the place, as Verstappen is already the car right behind me then. So Verstappen must have had a flyer of a start here, because he's already back inside the top 10. Well, let's have a look then at just how Verstappen made up 5 places on this opening lap there. You rarely see starts like this by the AI, but it's going to be 5 red lights from the Dutchman. And look at that, initially not a particularly good launch there. Thinks about going left, but is actually going to stay on the right-hand side there. And that's immediately how he made up 4 of those spots before we even got to turn 1. Really, yeah, just by being on the correct side of the circuit there. He's still got the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll just in front of him. So are we going to see a bit of a wobble from the Aston somewhere, or just an audacious move coming from the Dutchman? And here we go then. I think we can see Hamilton and myself side by side just in front there, and Verstappen's actually just going to hold out a little bit early, sees the Aston Martin look to the inside there and go, thank you very much. I'll have the outside line through the final chicane. Will be very, very well measured there, not to try and have a look at the inside of myself, but Verstappen on a charge early on. Well, we certainly don't have the pace to match the top runners today there. Hamilton already pulling away at quite a fast rate of knots, desperate to try and get into the battle with the other front runners and maybe try and create a bit of breathing ground between him and Verstappen behind. I don't think, to be honest, we're going to be able to do much against the Dutchman, but he's not applying too much pressure early on like I expected. Oh, here we go, Max Verstappen this time around down the inside at 130R. And again, though, the AI, I know I've said it countless times on this game, but the AI desperately need a rework here at Suzuka. They brake way too early at turn 1, and they also like to get down the inside at 130R and then back out of it for whatever reason. So hopefully that's something EA and coders are working on for F1 2024. Well, I was going to say Verstappen was looking pretty powerless, but I think he's going to get the run to the inside then. Back at turn 1, down the inside, the Dutchman will go there, almost runs himself off the road. But yeah, we are going to lose another spot. Still inside the top 10, though, as we now got both Aston Martins just behind. But yeah, if we can just try and keep up with the Dutchman as best as possible, that could be really useful. Sit rep, yeah, we can't keep up with Max Verstappen either. I can't say I'm too surprised, but it's still painful early on in this race. In what world, Mark, do we think I can try and get past? He's pulled out 2 seconds in a lap. Well, we seem to have found our flow a little bit more at the moment as we approach 1/3 distance in this race. But I tell you what, tyre wear, especially on those fronts, is much, much worse than I was expecting. So I think trying to go longer than the AI is going to be all but impossible. It might be worth trying to undercut them and seeing if we can, you know, obviously take that second set of inters to the dry period. Won't box now, but it might not be too far away. Okay, Carlos Sainz then in with a very, very early pit stop. So I think the AI are struggling as well on their tyres. My plan was to box the end of this lap, but if we see a lot more AI in, maybe it's worth trying to extend and do a 1. So yeah, it looks like it was only Sainz going for a rogue stop, so we are going to box then at the end of this lap and see if we can undercut some AI later on in the race. Make sure we get the car slowed down before we get to that pit lane line. But yeah, really, really struggling with the tyre wear early on here. Looks like that Ferrari car has met a similar fate, and now I think is in a lot of traffic as they head back out onto the track. They're stuck in the mid-pack.
Perfect job on the turn in there, mate. Looks like a nice stop time. We're happy with that one.
There we go, heading back out of the pits. Yeah, not convinced we'll get to the end on this set of tyres, but yeah, we've still got no ETA on when the rain's meant to end. There we go, purple through the middle sector then. We are flying along at the moment as we close up to the back of Logan Sargent. Much, much quicker than I was expecting to. Need to try and get round him on the run back down towards turn 1. I do not want to be looking at the admittedly beautiful Golf Racing Williams there as Sargent wants to try and throw a bit of a block side by side back in towards the first corner. And yeah, nothing the American can do. Oh, Zhou Guanyu's gone for a spin. No, this could be really bad for us. We've just like got round him. But if Zhou doesn't get out of the way, that could be a red flag in this GP. I think he has done, though. That was rather scary, and we get past Daniel Ricciardo in the process. Yeah, Zhou Guanyu almost tipped this race on its head. Oh, that works out beautifully for us. I mean, the AI are still forced to pit, but we could see dry running by about lap 20. Oh, there we go. Ocon and Magnussen into the pit lane then. As we get to half distance, are we going to potentially undercut a couple of cars? Here's Verstappen and Hamilton, and look at that. We've got the jump on Verstappen again, so he's going to have to try and get back past me. And we're even closer to Lewis than we were. Here we go then. I think we're going to see basically every other car that hasn't boxed then into the pit lane. So we're going to be back inside the top 10. Although here comes Verstappen. Hamilton looks to have got the jump on George Russell. Yeah, the Dutchman making it back through. So after all of that, we're exactly where we were. Well, just over 10 laps to go now, and this was the part of the race that I was really, really nervous. Now we've got cars all around me going upwards of 2 seconds a lap faster, and I'm just praying that this rain is going to stop sooner rather than later, just because we are hemorrhaging time to the cars around me. I think the only other car that can relate to this at the moment is Carlos Sainz. He's on even older tyres than I am, and he is just falling back down the order.
Quite soon. Be careful you don't burn out your tyres.
I think we're already into that problem mark, but that's really good to hear. We are not far away from a dry patch. Well, I reckon we're only 1, maybe 2 laps away from a switch to the dry, so Carlos Sainz and I both desperately trying to hang on in there. So we run a little bit wide through Spoon Curve. Luckily, didn't gain an advantage there, so didn't pick up a warning. But yeah, now Alonso and Lance Stroll are all over my gearbox. We have ran inside the top 10 basically all day. I do not want to give it up in the final third of this race. Our front tyres really beginning to bleed now. Fernando Alonso to the inside. Down in towards 130R where he pulled off that move on Schumacher all those years ago. He's not going to pull off the move on me. We will hold firm around the outside there of the Spaniards. But yeah, it's really now just a question of when can we box. I think the rain has all but stopped, so we're going to have to try and make an early call. I don't think we can go much further on this set of tyres. I think we've got to box this lap. We're already up over 70% wear, and the last thing I want is a puncture. So Alonso to the outside down to the hairpin. Yeah, that's definitely not happening, mate.
Okay, mate, we might need to look at a new race strategy after that. I've got some options for you, so go and check your MFD.
Oh, that is perfect. If that's what he's saying. No, he's not.
Confirmed.
We're boxing. We're boxing now, though. Team is still telling me to go on the inters. We are taking a big, big gamble here. These tyres just aren't going to go any further. So we have got to risk it. We have got to go onto a set of the dries with 6 laps left of the Japanese Grand Prix. How many times this season have we been running in the points till late in the day?
There's been a problem attaching the right front wheel. We need to try and put that behind us, though, and finish the race strong.
Please don't tell me that's going to cost us at the end of this. But yeah, how many times this season have we been desperate to try and hang on in there? And how many times has it come away from us? We've only scored points 3 times, but I so desperately want to make it 4. And I tell you what, out of the first corner, these tyres don't feel half bad. There we go, DRS is enabled. I believe that's because we bolted on the dries. They kind of feel they have to. But will we see other drivers pit? Well, it doesn't look like any of the AI are boxing yet, and we've only lost a couple of tenths to Magnussen on this lap, so I don't think it was actually a bad call for us, because we would have probably been losing more time to Kevin late on in the day. Still got to be very, very careful with the front lock-in. It's not quite the time, but we're not a million miles away. And looking on the mini-map, we're still not seeing AI into the pit lane. So there's every possibility that a few of them might try and extend this right to the end of the GP. We're still not taking a lot out of Magnussen, but it is starting to come down. There we go, Carlos Sainz, first driver I've seen into the pit lane, but we knew his tyres were destroyed as well, so that doesn't come as much of a surprise. 130R though, easy flat. So where will we come out then relative to Carlos here? I think we're going to still be a long, long way back actually as he heads out onto the circuit, so maybe this hasn't worked out as well for us as I'd expected. Well, by my calculations, we're still 25 seconds behind those Aston Martins in 3 laps. Oh, I feel this might have got away from us again. Oh, you can see there, Magnussen, though, unable to get the power down out of the hairpin. And we go the long way around. No, he's going to try and... Oh, come on, Kevin. You can't just weave out and in and just expect me to sit back and allow it as we make our way out of Spoon, though, to the inside of the Dane. And yeah, I feel this one, once again, is just going to elude me. Looks like Ferrari have boxed Charles Leclerc as well. So that pretty much puts the nail in the coffin. If Ferrari have done it, it was the wrong way to go. Saying that though, Valtteri Bottas into the pit lane as well. All we really need is just for the AI to pit. But we just need loads of them to pit. While still our front runners not opting to box here, and it looks like McLaren could be on for a massive payday. I'm just hoping I see one of the Aston Martins in, or, well, hopefully both of them, to be completely honest. Oh no, we picked up a penalty as well. Well, I think any hope we had has now completely gone. It is now just a question of damage limitation with 1 lap to go here at Suzuka as we get down the inside. It'll turn to the outside of Esteban Ocon. Yeah, great, of course. Of course, Esteban Ocon locking up and understeering into me as well. Because he's on the wrong tyres, in the wrong track conditions. We are going to see a few more cars pit though. So we're going to be back up and into 12th place there. Hulkenberg as well, opting to stay out. But that pretty much just sums it up, doesn't it, right at the end of this GP. Can we still try and get back to Nico and limp home for a P11? Be very, very happy if we could, but yeah, I think with this damage, it's going to be a very, very tall order there. Alex Albon now only 6 seconds behind me. And yeah, look at that, we're not even taking time out of the Haas to make our way through the S's there. Esteban Ocon needs to think more about what he's doing on a Formula 1 circuit, but how many times? I know, I feel like I say it far too much as well on this game, but this series has gotta be the most just ridiculous for running in the points or looking like we could score points and then something happens that ruins it. Lando Norris is going to take the win here at Suzuka. Oscar Piastri is going to make it a McLaren 1-2 there. Charles Leclerc, new fast lap of the day on the final lap there. So we'll do a bit of damage limitation against Verstappen in the championship there. But that means, yeah, McLaren get a big, big haul of points this weekend, making our way through 130R one final time. I think we're going to lose the place to Albon as well in the process of all of this. But what a heartbreaking end to the Japanese Grand Prix out of the final corner. From running in the points all day, it's P13.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
McLaren have pulled it off. They've won in spectacular fashion here today. Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Well, that lead at the top has somewhat shrunk today. Some amazing talent out on the track today. But Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
It's got to be Lando Norris, hasn't it? Smooth, confident and assured. I've got no doubt that he and his team are going to be over the moon with his performance today.
It's time to check out the Constructors' standings. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport action. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Well, there we are then, the end of the Japanese Grand Prix, and it's Lando, Norris and McLaren once again back on top here. Sergio Perez gets a third place podium ahead of George Russell and Verstappen there. Charles Leclerc in P7 with that fastest lap bonus point. I believe he will still be leading in the Drivers' Championship. But yeah, in the end, it was the Ferraris, the Astons, the Mercs, the McLarens and the Red Bulls that took home all our points there. I really thought we would cause the upset. But yeah, championship-wise though, it does now mean, yeah, Lando Norris, 55 points back off the top of the table. Could he still be a late season threat, as now 16 points covering our top 4 in the championship? So there is definitely a 4-way scrap that is going on late on in the campaign there. Luckily, we maintain our gap over the cars behind there, and now Red Bull with a 19-point lead over Ferrari, 10 points between Mercedes and McLaren as well, though. This is certainly going to be a battle to watch right to the end of the campaign. But a massive thank you to everyone for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula One returns to Qatar. You guys do not want to miss that. A massive thank you to all of my YouTube members and my Patreon supporters for their continued donations to help my work. These things go much further than I think a lot of you ever realise, and allow me to continue making content full-time here on YouTube. So if you want to support me from as little as £1 a month and be featured on all of these end clips, either click the join button next to the subscribe or head over to my Patreon. There's a link down in the description.